Everyone. Today we will talk about how to write an academic paragraph or even like a brief essay. It's really important that you have to put in your mind when you write academically is different when you write like a text message to your friend, or you just write, for example, a draft about things that you have to do, or like to write to-do lists. This is completely different because when you write an academic like writing such as paragraph, essay, or whatever, you have to be very carefully because your audience, they are really like, okay, for example, they are either like interested in the area that you are write about it, or even maybe it is your professor or your supervisor, okay, or even your like classmates. That is why your language should be like very correct in the grammar, and also the knowledge should be very accurate. So today we will talk about how to start to write an academic writing, and we will start with academic paragraph. Okay, so before we start like to talk about like academic paragraph, I want you like to put in your mind that in academic writing you should avoid the personal pronoun. What I mean like personal pronoun, that's using I or using you or we. Please try to avoid these personal pronoun because the point is like to show the content or the knowledge that you write it, okay, not like who do for example who do this, like for example the writing piece, okay. So the most important that how you make your message okay is received to your audience, rather than to show, okay, if I'm write this like writing, or if I do this by myself. So here you have to avoid the personal pronoun. So number one, just avoid I, you, we. Even when you try, for example, if you try to write a report about experiment that you do, or something that you need to mention the person that, for example, do something. So here you can use like the third person. You can use he or she, even if you are talking about yourself. For example, some people, they are write a report about experiment that they do in the lab for the college. Instead of say I do this, they can use the personal pronoun, or even they can just refer to themselves as the researcher. So here the same thing. In academic writing, please avoid the personal pronoun. Number two, also you have to avoid the avoid verifying in tenses. So what's mean verifying in tenses? Verifying in tenses that when you try to use a various tenses, for example, in one like a paragraph, on one like for example writing piece, use a lot of tenses. Use the past tense, the future, the present, the present perfect. Try to not verify in tenses because this is lead you to a lot of mistake. And since you are like for example academic paragraph, maybe you need like to talk about facts, truth, or statements. So here I highly recommend you to use the simple present. Why? Because the simple present we use it, okay, mainly when we talk about facts, truth, okay. And you can like for example if you try to use like for example to use maybe you need to use another tense. For example, if you need to refer to the background or something, you talk about the history, in this case you can use the simple past. But don't try to use many tenses because this is like make you just like make a lot of mistake, and you're gonna lose your audience, okay. Number three, try to avoid the run-on sentences. So what's mean run-on sentences? Run-on sentences that when you write very long sentences without like a period or semicolon, or even like for example subordinating conjunction tools, so that means that you write a sentence without stopping. This is run-ons, and run-ons is one of the mistakes in writing, okay. So try to avoid it such mistake, okay. And also you have to put in your mind that it's really important that you follow the right punctuation and the spelling as well. And you have to use a correct grammar. Here I'm not talking, for example, for people who speak language English as a second language. You are not really like required to write a very proficient like English. No, it's just like you have to use the correct grammar. If you are not sure from like the structure of the sentences, you can, for example, review it, or you can ask someone like maybe like a native in the language, or even like, so reviewing in English is really important because it helps you like to discover your mistakes. Okay, and just put in your mind there is like 3 types of the sentences that you need like to use in writing. We have the simple sentence. That means the sentence have like a subject and verb. You have like a compound sentence, which is mean like 2 independent sentences that it is just like combined with one subordinate conjunction. We call it as a fanboys, which is like for, but, so. Okay, or it is complex sentence. Complex sentence is just like to use the sentence that maybe is connected. One is dependent and the other is independent, which is use while or as or because or since. Okay, so this is like what we call it. Okay, so as I mentioned, today we will talk about like how to write an academic paragraph. So first of all, you have to put in your mind when you try to write, okay, you have to follow actually the framework, or actually the frame of the like a paragraph. Of course, you have to leave indent, a space, okay, at the beginning of the paragraph, okay, and then you have to start with a capital letter. Each time you start a sentence, you have to start with a capital letter. Just remember that all the proper noun, noun, either it is the noun of the people, name of the cities, or name of names of the like things, you have to start it with the capital letter. So you cannot, for example, you cannot say, for example, Europe. You write it with like, for example, with a small letter. Of course, you have to start it with a capital letter, or the name of John or the name of Sally. You cannot start it with small letter, but with the capital letter. Even the name of the things that we like, you have to start it with a capital letter. And we have the letter I. When we say I, every time we use the pronoun I, you have to write it in a capital letter. And each time you end the sentence, you have to put period. Okay, so this is like the form of the like a paragraph. Okay, and you have to follow the same form of the paragraph, especially when you write an academic paragraph and you need like to hand it to either academically or even like in another field. So now we need like to know what is a paragraph. Of course, this paragraph is like a group of sentences with one topic. So that means there is a combination of the sentences is talking about only one topic. So you have to stick with your main idea, with your topic, okay? Because like each sentence of the paragraph should talk about the same topic that you start with. Okay, so this is really important in academic paragraph. Okay, so now let's talk about the parts of the paragraph. Of course, the paragraph should have like 3 parts. Start with the topic sentence, which we call the introduction, and then we have the supporting sentence, and then we have the conclusion. Okay, so it look like as a sandwich here. Or even like, for example, we always say here, for example, in the topic sentence or the introductions look like, okay, at the beginning of the like sandwich is just like bread. Okay, we cannot put any topping or salad or wherever, because it's just like the beginning. Okay, I always say like the introduction is look like a hook. A hook is that it is just like to get attraction of your like the attraction of your audience, of your like the people who gonna read what you are saying. Okay, so it should be too general, okay, and should be like for the introduction too general, and should be like have strong words, flowery words to get the attraction of the reader, and also should be have the main idea, because most of the time when you write, the main idea should be at the beginning of the sentence, especially for the people who start writing in English. Okay, and then we have the supporting details. The supporting detail has all the details. They have reasons and facts, sometimes statistics, examples. Okay, because here in academic paragraph you need like all the time to provide examples and reasons to strengthen your writing. And of course, for conclusion, here you cannot add it anything. It's just like either to rephrase or restate the topic sentence, the introduction, okay, by either changing the grammar and changing in vocabulary. For example, if you use at the beginning introduction, use like important word, you can use like critical, initial, main, okay? And of course, or either it is summarizes the general, for example, summarizes the main idea of the paragraph, okay? So if you look here, so this is actually from the book, is from paragraph 2 essay. Okay, so as I said, the paragraph should have all the time the three bars. The first one, if you see in the yellow, this is the topic sentence, or what we call introduction. And introduction, maybe it is one sentence, two sentences, but either it should have the main idea. And then here for the supporting details, okay, here you're gonna explain the topic sentence. What's mean explain? That you give more details, you give description to the topic that you are talking. And of course, you can do that by providing examples, reasons, like many details, okay. And I always recommended that the supporting details, even if you write a short paragraph, should have like 200 to three should have like three supporting sentences at least, okay. And of course, every time you provide reasons, it will be likely to added examples, because examples gonna support your details that you provide, okay. And here for the conclusion, all the time it's going to be the last sentence of the paragraph, okay. So here in this, you like in conclusion sentence, you don't need like to add it. What you cannot need, like for example, to add new details, of course not. Here is just repeating the main idea, okay, or just giving like a final comment about the topic, but there's no details at all, okay. So yeah, here as I mentioned, okay. So as I said, topic sentence should be all the time. It is the main the first sentence, okay, the first sentence in the paragraph, okay. And all the time have general like for example general details, so you don't added any specific details, because the specific details, the reasons, the examples, the facts, all the time in supporting sentences, okay. And of course is introduce the main idea of the paragraph, okay. While for the supporting details, as I said, write at least 3 supporting sentences by giving information, by giving facts, examples, details, okay. And then for the conclusion, is just like gonna be the last sentence of the paragraph, and of course it is just remind what is the topic of the sentence was about, okay. So it's just restates the main idea, okay. So here, if we write like the process of writing, you have to put in your mind before start writing, okay. You have to put like in your mind, you have to do a kind of like brainstorm, that you gather like ideas about what you're gonna write about it, okay. You can make either like a mapping, okay, just like you with the topic, and then you put like the other details that you want to mention, or just doing like a kind of outline to organize your thoughts before start writing. And then you have like to do the draft. You write the first draft for you. Okay, and of course you have to do revise. Okay, and revise, of course you're gonna find some mistakes in grammar and like in spelling, vocabulary, and maybe you need like to edit some like details, and after that you have to rewrite it as like for example as another draft. Okay, I prefer like to do a kind of second eye reader. So when you finish your first draft, I always recommend you like to give it to another like person, maybe like your classmate, okay, to help you like to read it again and then find like the mistake that you maybe did and you didn't or recognize. Okay, so second eye reader is really important. So for a good paragraph, you have to do, as I said, brainstorm. What's mean brainstorm? That you have to start to think about the topic without writing a paragraph. You can just do it like write, for example, some notice on the paper to organize your thoughts, okay? And also you have to arrange your points. Like for example, if this topic talk about technology and its impact in our life, okay, for example here you have to choose, okay, what I'm gonna write about, maybe the smartphone. Okay, so the smartphone, if I write about the smartphone, what I have to mention, which thoughts, which like points I need like to mention. So you have to organize them and then write it on the paper or even like typing on the computer. And you need like to use the transition word, because transition word does look like a direction signs. It's help you to organize your ideas, okay, and it's help like the reader to find out the details that you mentioned. So for example, we use first, second, third, finally, lastly, okay. And of course you need to edit your paragraph for like grammar style, for the coherence, for punctuation, for spelling. Okay, thank you so much.